You've always wanted to read classics, but every time you pick a classic, you always feel that you need a PhD in ancient English and a lot of patience. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Simran who loves talking about books all the time. That you must already be knowing from the channel that I created. Duh. And today I have come up with a few classics that is extremely beginners friendly. I don't say extremely, but beginners friendly to an extent that anybody who have not read any classics in the past can dive into all of this with utmost ease because of how short the book is and how motivating that can be for some readers. So, keeping that thing in my mind, I have curated a list of 11 books to be honest, but I will not be talking about all the 11 books today because it's going to be a damn long video and I don't want you people to get bored just like you get bored when reading a classic book. So, as it's my first classic recommending video, I will be recommending only 5 books and the rest 6 may follow in the next video for part 2. These are all the books that I have read and loved. Okay, all throughout my reading journey. Despite the fact that I do not come from any literature background, these are the books that I discovered one day and fell in love, head over heels for classics as a genre, and there's no looking back now. So trust me when I say, and you're going to thank me later for all the books that I'm going to recommend you in the first part and also the second part. Can we roll on to the video now? Let's start with Animal Farm by George Orwell. Now, anybody who reads or do not read classic know who George Orwell is. I do not think that I need to introduce the author from the scratch, but yet I would like to say that if you have heard about George Orwell's 1984, yes, that can be a beginner's friendly book, but I would recommend you to start with Animal Farm by George Orwell. It is also available on Spotify, if I'm not wrong, because I heard it over Spotify for the first time. Then I bought the copy of the book. I read the book again, annotated the parts that I felt critically, analytical, and then I understood the book even more. So, Animal Farm is a very revolutionary kind of a book. A little political satire is the word. Not that a lot of people will understand it in the first go, but I would still suggest that you read it. Once you read it, you will want to read it again. That is one kind of a book. Okay, once you reread the book, you will understand why the book is so popular in the first place and what is exactly political satire. So the entire book is about these animal group. Okay, so these animal groups are basically revolting against the human master and they want equality in the entire human world. The animal world. Okay, now they are demanding a new master, expecting that they will be getting equality, but as the new master emerges, the situation is again the same. There's no equality as such, just like any political situation in any country. So this is basically a sharp political fable that kind of tells how revolution can fail and how easily power can corrupt people. So the story is of animal, but is not of animal. So once you read it, you will understand why the book is written in such a manner that you will yourself feel that okay, ये तो हमारे country में भी हो रहा है, ये तो हर जगह हो रहा है. Despite the fact that it is based around animals, it is not based around animals. So that's how intelligently the author has pretty much portrayed the political agendas of almost every place in one small book. And I think I loved the audiobook so much. I will see if the audiobook of Spotify is still available. If yes, then I will try and put the link of Spotify below in the description or maybe pin down in the comments below so you can check that out. If you do not want to try reading the book because of how political it sounds, you may want to give the audiobook a try because that kind of literally compelled me to buy the physical copy of it and reread it for the second time, and I am very grateful that I did it. And so this is one book that I highly recommend. The next book is basically very interesting. Okay, or the one that I recently read. I have gotten 100 recommendation of this book 100 times. Like people have been telling me, Simran, you love reading classics, why don't you read this book? I have always contemplated on if I should be reading this book, despite the fact that the blurb of the book is very interesting. And this time I just got the book, I read the book, and now I just question myself on why did I not read it earlier? Because the book is again dystopian, a little political, but very beginners friendly. It is supremely thought provoking. So the book basically begins with firemen burning the houses of people down people who have books or who likes reading, and people who acquire books and stuff, their only work is to burn down the houses of those people. I think I have already mentioned about this one book in my some other videos. I don't know, but yeah. Why are they burning down the books? Because they like their government do not want people to acquire knowledge. They just want to suppress the thoughts of people. Because the fact is, when you keep reading books and you read more social books or any books for that matter, you are getting so much of knowledge in any respective field. Okay, so in that case, the government have assigned some people whose only responsibility is to burn down the people acquiring books. And then this protagonist, the main character of the book, meets one lady on the road who kind of questions him that why are you doing it? What is the point of burning book? Your job as fireman is to save the houses that accidentally catches fire. Your job is not to burn down books. And so he gets an idea. So he understands that the lady must be right. But he also wants to understand what is there in books that the authority is asking him to burn it. So he sneaks some books at his home and discusses with his wife that they want to read it together. And then he wants to figure out what is there in books to be like so cruelly behaved with. And if there is something wrong, they will themselves burn the books down. So that is one promise that they make to each other, the husband and wife. But then something happens. Okay, obviously, people do not go unnoticed at all times. So something happens that I will not spill about because that is going to be spoilers, and then etc. etc. So this is the interesting premise of the book. Very thought provoking. It is a classic for a reason, and I think like it is an eye opening book. The government will always want you to do what they have asked you to do. They will not want you to have your own freedom of speech or your freedom of thought. So in a dystopian context, that theme kind of ignited a lot of thoughts in me as a reader. Despite reading so many books, I think this one book is one very important book that everybody should read. And it is very lucid, very easily readable, very easily understandable. So you do not have to literally break your jaw to read this book. It is like very easy for you to read and understand. And it is written in such a nice and a flowy manner that you would want to keep reading it until you flip the last page and you'll be like, wow, what did I read? And the book is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This is like a very haunting dystopian book that questions blind obedience and celebrates knowledge in such a way that a victory for everyone, victory for every individual who have the liberty to have free speech and free thought in this world. That being said, let us move to the next book. So the third book is basically a very popular one, and I don't even think or feel the need to even introduce the book because everybody knows about it. Everybody must have read it as a part of their course at school. It is The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. The book is more like a journal of Anne Frank, where she captures the daily life of hers when she is hidden from the Nazis who are in search of Jews, and she is like basically she is basically hidden in an attic with her family, and they cannot even talk. They cannot. They just whisper and murmur because that was the only mean of communication among their own family members. And then she used to capture her own daily life, and that is when she wrote this book or journal where she used to capture her daily life and her dreams and her fascinations, her first love, and all of those things. Very innocent. The book itself is very simple, very innocent, but it tells a lot. It has to deliver a lot. The haunting reality of Germany at that time under Hitler. I feel that everybody at one point should be reading it so as to understand the necessity of existence, and how grateful we should be of our lives, and how grateful we should be of our family, the shelter above our head, and everything, because people have gone through the worst at one point. And this is not even fiction, this is reality that we are reading in this book. So the fourth one in this list is a very tiny book. So because of the fact that the book is unputdownable, and also because of the fact that the book feels like that you are conversing with your own inner self, your wiser self. And the book is Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke. So the book basically starts with Rilke's answer to a young poet's letter with deep reflection on love, sense of being, loneliness. And let me tell you, the book is extremely lyrical. Like lyrical as if, you're reading a poetry. And not a poetry that is hard to comprehend, obviously not. I'm not going to recommend you any book as such, but lyrical in a way that it feels that you want to annotate the entire book. I have literally scribbled through my book like crazy because of how beautifully the letter has been written, and with a very precise mention of love, art, loneliness, longing, sense of being. It's like a conversation. Like, although Rilke is writing a letter to the poet, like answering his questions, answering his delusional questions, it still feels like, you're reading a conversation with your own wiser self. It's like as if I'm questioning my own self and I'm answering the questions on my own self with a wider and wiser insight. So it feels like that. And I have never felt like that on reading any book until this day. Only when I read this book did I feel that way. It's timeless, lyrical, and extremely thoughtful. The fifth one is going to be a very different one from all the other books that I've mentioned, because the fifth one is a psychological horror kind of a thing. This one is extremely short. First thing, very interesting. Second thing, and third thing, it will leave you your nails biting. So the story is basically about this young governess who is basically appointed or sent to this remote home where there are two orphan children, and she has to basically look after the two orphan children. Okay, now she obviously goes there because that's her job, and she feels that there's something wrong about that place. There's some, just like any classic Hollywood horror movie. So she basically senses a lot of creepy things around her at the home, at the remote home. But the thing is there anything actually creepy there, or is it all in her mind? The question is that. So it's a psychological ghost story where the true horror may not lie in the spirits, but in the mind. So it has to do a lot with the human psyche. And as it is psychological horror, it is obviously full of suspense, a lot of eerie silences, and uncertainties. And the book that I'm talking about is Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I also think that the book has an adaptation into a TV series, if I'm not wrong. If yes, I'll put the poster on the screen somewhere. You can also watch the adaptation maybe, but I would still suggest that you read the book. And to read the book, please make sure that you read it during winters to feel the eeriness through your veins, because these kind of books are actually meant to be read during winters or maybe monsoon when it's heavily pouring down, because the experience of reading these books kind of escalates to another level. So the five books are Animal Farm by George Orwell, Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, and Turn of the Screw by Henry James. First five classic recommendations, and the rest, six or seven, might follow later in the second part. So with this, we come to the end of the video. If you have loved watching me talk about books, or if you love books in general, you may want to subscribe to my channel, because I come every week to talk about books. And if you have enjoyed watching this video, please like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, read these books. Happy reading, and I'll see you in the next one.